Good afternoon. This is the LouRaePodcast, and I'm your host, Austin Kors. Today, my guest, Mariyah. She's an artist and a designer here in Louisville. Mariyah, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Of
Happy
course.
to be here.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about your life starting out. Are you from Louisville?
I am from Louisville. I'm born and raised in Louisville. I've always lived here. I have I've always liked art as a kid from as early as I can remember. I don't really have a memory of it being like introduced to me or like somebody like putting art in front of me. But I can always remember that being my interest. I was just always that kid that was excited for art class, always doodling on my school papers and stuff like that, always asking for pen and paper just to draw. I can remember when I got to like middle school, I got really good at drawing characters like SpongeBob and Mickey Mouse and just things like that. So that was really my thing. It was like my gifts to people. I would draw their favorite character for them or just a nice picture and I would frame it and give it to them. So that was just my thing. I never really thought much of that. That was just my thing.
Yeah, brought you joy to create and give to others.
It just brought me joy to create. Yeah. I do remember like my mom she was a writer. She was really like heavily into like writing and reading poetry. And she eventually, when I was younger, she wrote her own book of poems. She never got it published, but that was really a significant time. I guess that's what drew me to like expression. Never really been good with words. So I guess the visual side of it was my thing. But other than that, I don't really remember there being a big like support or community around art, like for me. Growing up, it's just something that I always did. After I got out of high school, went to college, and I kind of forgot about it because it was never really like in my future. It was just something I just like to do. So once I went to college, I kind of forgot about art for a long time. After I graduated from college, moved back home, and a few years later, I got pregnant. After I had my daughter, I was experiencing postpartum really bad, and I don't know what prompted, but one night I hadn't drawn or did art in years, and I just went to Walmart and got my supplies, grabbed a canvas, grabbed some paint, and went home, and I painted all night that night. Turned on a sermon because I grew up in church. I was very, very heavily in church, and turned on a sermon, and I painted for hours just listening to a sermon, and that's what started my journey back into art.
A real explosion out of nowhere then. What did it feel like when you finally kind of gave in to that artistic pursuit?
It felt good. It felt like it was always something I wanted to do, but I didn't know it. Like I never really knew what I was gonna do in long term, or really never even really thought about it. Like I said, when I was younger, I never really was like pushed to do art, even though I liked it. It wasn't really something that was like had like a support system surrounding it, and I just think that's just because nobody around me was ever introduced to it. So I felt like I was going back to something that I didn't even know that I wanted to do. So yeah, it was good. It really started like my journey into like adulthood and becoming a mom and stuff, and then that just sparked like a spiritual journey, I think, within me. I was dealing with postpartum depression. I was going through a breakup. I was back home out of college for a couple years and didn't, have a job. Well, not a good job. It's just art was what took over me, and I just started doing it.
Has your art changed from that time when you first started kind of just pouring your emotions out into it? Have you refined it at all?
So when I first started painting, got back into, art really heavily, I was painting more of like women's bodies, women's figures. And I think that I was painting things like that because, like I said, I had just had a baby. My daughter was like 3 or 4 months old. And like I said, I was going through a lot of like insecurities with like physical and mental insecurities and stuff like that, dealing with postpartum depression. So I think I was just like unconsciously painting images of myself, or, like images that I would want to see myself as. And I think I didn't know it at the time, it's just something that I usually like women's bodies, the curves and they're smooth and stuff like that. And I always kind of just I think I kind of saw myself as like a simple person as far as like, minimalist, and, it doesn't take too much. And that's kind of what I always like seen in myself. So that's why I kind of like was drawn to doing that. I was always focused on the backgrounds more so than the subject of my picture. I don't know, the background was just very important to me as far as like the colors I use, and if it's a calm background and a very vibrant background or whatever. It was just very important to me that the background was good. I don't know.
Yeah, you really want to frame the subject and show them in a way that makes them really stand out, and so the background is really just as important as the foreground.
Yes, the background was really important to me, and also I felt like the background was where I could really be creative. Like, it didn't have to conform to any certain shape or anything like that. I could paint around it. I paint around the subject and do it whatever I want. So the background was always just important to me. As far as now, I have gotten more detailed with my work, like adding more details in. I started doing portraits and stuff like that. A lot of it just came from first not knowing, because all my work is self-taught. I never had any like formal classes or anything like that for art. Just things I wanted to do and I wanted to try, and I just jumped out there and bought supplies and started trying. But yeah, now I'm adding a lot more like detail and portraits and stuff. At a time when I didn't know how to do something, I would build up as far as practicing not drawing faces and practicing where those shadows and lights should go without the face there, and really just using that as practice to add more to it. And so I think my work has definitely grown from that.
I know you said you started out with female bodies and the female form. Are you still kind of working on that? I know you also do portraiture as well.
Yes, I've actually really went back to that here lately, because when I had started painting, those type of things is what brought me the most joy. And I don't know if it's because I could really see myself in those paintings, but also because I feel like other people could see themselves in those paintings where like they don't have a face. A lot of people start asking me like, is that you in the painting? Well, you could assume it's me, but also there is no face. You know what I mean? Depending on what the subject or the background makes you feel, you can determine who it represents, you know what I mean? Or what it represents for yourself. So yeah, I've really kind of gone back to doing stuff I did when I first started painting. I was challenging myself because I know that you gotta move with the times, you know what I mean? You always gotta learn new things. So I'm always looking to push myself to learn the next level or the next step, another technique or whatever it may be. But I think that's what brought me the most joy.
Yeah, that's it's really interesting how you combine such vibrant backgrounds, and usually the thing that people look for most in a portrait or in a subject is distinct details, so that they can really kind of immerse themselves in whatever the artist is maybe trying to show. But for you, it's really interesting because you blend the backgrounds and the subjects into a kind of harmony where without the face, you really have no focal point, and so your eyes bounce around your art a lot, and you have to take everything in all at once. It's almost overwhelming and really fun to kind of experience that.
Yeah, and I think that just comes from me putting my feelings into my art, because you really have to kind of, I wouldn't say blend in, but you kind of have to go with your environment and and what's around you, and then you can change it, you can make it whatever you want. So the subject and the background together they're both very equally important in the art and in real life, I feel like.
And what do you mean by that in life?
Evolving, with the surroundings around you. Like I said, it's blend in wouldn't be the right word, but you and the universe is like one and the same. So we do merge. We do connect. So I think that is really kind of what I give off in my paintings.
You look for unity.
Yeah.
And you kind of look for that as well when you're painting and creating these pieces. You want to communicate with other people, maybe not through words so much, but through the visuals, like you said earlier.
Like I said, my mom was a writer. She was heavily into writing, so that was like always in our house, like books and music especially. And I think that's what kind of drew me to music. Now I'm not really good at expressing myself through like words or writing, So I got the visual part of it, but I do like to acknowledge that a lot. Like lyrics that mean something are very, important to me. I'm just, I love to read things that are good at expressing how people may feel or how I feel, or just, a good line that expresses emotion really well. And the people who write those things or put those things out are really important to me because they're, the authors of these things. And I really have grown into liking to depict those in my art, those people. And I've started using more words in my art, like when I paint and I might put a quote, that stands out or makes you think, on it or something like that, or a line from, I do a lot of rappers and artists. I might put like a lyric that they said, that kind of stands out to me. So I kind of have grown into liking to express how much words mean to me through visual art, because visual art is obviously my strong suit, but I do appreciate words a lot, an awful lot. So, yeah.
Is that why you think you create in the first place? Do you know why you create?
I don't know if there's actual reason. It's just something that I just like to see things done and accomplished. You know what I mean? Because I like to see that finished piece. I like to see what was brought together. I'm a planner in real life, but I'm not really much of a planner when it comes to like my artwork, my paintings and stuff. I have an idea, and I always have ideas all the time. And so once I catch an idea, it's like, okay, I'm doing it right now. Like, I'm not planning it. Like my background, I don't plan what the finished piece is gonna look like. I just start doing it, and I like to see what I made at the end. Sometimes I will start something and then leave it for a while and then come back to it and work on it some more. And then sometimes I may finish, like I said, I always do the background last. So sometimes I may do the subject of the picture and then leave the background for like weeks and then just come back and do whatever came to me, for that background. And that's just because I like for things to come naturally. I don't like to do too much planning of what things are gonna look like in the end.
So that kind of reminds me of your entire artistic journey, is you throwing yourself into everything with 100% effort, with faith in yourself, because you didn't grow up with a real strong artistic community surrounding you, showing you what the ropes are like. You kind of had to figure out everything on your own and really believe in yourself and create without that kind of support network that a lot of other artists are lucky enough to have. Yeah. So tell me then, now that you're starting to get established and you have your shows and you've sold plenty of pieces, what is the artistic community like now for you in Louisville?
Oh, the artistic community in Louisville is great for me. I feel like you said, I really didn't grow up with anybody like introducing me to art. Like I said, besides my mom, she had a time period where she was a writer, but besides that, nobody ever really was pushing me to do art, or was doing art themselves, or really taking creating seriously. So when I became an adult and I started selling pieces, and then I started doing different events and stuff like that, like it was kind of blowing my mind, because I didn't really think that there were people out there that really took art as serious as I always probably wanted to, but never really thought much about it, because nobody was ever talking about it. Nobody was ever like advocating for being an artist or making art, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was kind of, it was new to me, but I love it. It's still like a brand new world to me, being around these people who do art full time, make a living off of it, like to do it all the time, like to go to museums and, are into different aspects of art, like spoken word and fashion and stuff. Even though I've been doing it for a few years now, it still kind of blows my mind that there's a community around this that I had never seen before. So yeah, I feel really grateful. Like every time I meet somebody new, every time I go to another event, I feel really grateful that it's like a confirmation that I am on the right path. Something that I really do enjoy doing, and there are other people who enjoy it just as much as me. It's like confirmation. So I like it. I love it.
So now that you're kind of settled and on a roll, really, what do you want to do with your art?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So right now I'm really kind of in the present with my art and seeing like what I can do, right now. I definitely love doing my fashion. I do jackets and clothing and shoes. I really enjoy customizing shoes. That was something I started a few years ago. I wanted my art to be wearable. I'm really a fan of like hand painted things as I do. So that was really important to me to make like wearable art that's actually hand painted and, original. So I really enjoy doing that. So I'm hoping that that would be a big step in, the future for me, doing shoes and things like that. But as for like my canvas art and things like that, I'm really just focused on the present and what, and living out this moment. Because like I said, this is all brand new to me. I really don't have, or haven't had, now that I've met people, I have a lot more guidance than I did before. Like I said, this world is brand new to me. And as far as where to go with it, I had never really thought about it until a few years ago. So I'm still kind of focusing on that, doing different festivals and events. I'm getting more into fashion. I'm doing like fashion shows, being in them. Hopefully in the future or near future, that could be something that I grow with as far as showcasing.
Speaking of shows, you've done a few of them. What goes into that, or how did you kind of prepare yourself for it, or what was that whole process coming from never doing shows to somehow having your art displayed for other people? What's that like? And selling art?
It was good. It was good and it was bad because I deal with a lot of like self-doubt. Like I said, seeing people that do this for a living, do this every day, it was kind of nerve-wracking because you don't know if you're doing it right. But that's the thing with art, it's not a right or a wrong, and I really had to learn that. You know what I mean? The most important thing that I've learned is just to show up with do your pieces, do your art, how you want to do it, and then when there's an opportunity, just show up to it. And because you never know who's there. Like I said, it's not a right or a wrong way to do art, so you don't know who's gonna like what you've done. You know what I mean? And for the most part, if you have expressed yourself and put your all into it,
and you kind of show that throughout your own art, where you're constantly being curious and constantly experimenting with new things to portray, or new color combinations, or whatever.
Yeah, I like for it to be as expressive as possible, and just as telling as possible about the person themselves. And that I'm saying that about my own art, but I love to see other people's art because it's really individualistic. I like that everybody thinks a certain way, so everything is going to look a different way, and that's really important to me. That different opinions, different outlooks, different ways to put paint on a canvas, different ways to make an ending product. Like I love the diversity of it all. I try to remember that with my own art too. Like, this is mine, and it's not a right or wrong way to do it. I can create it however I want, you know what I mean? I can make it to be whatever I want it to look like, so I like that.
Yeah. So why is art important?
I think just because of that, because everybody's different, everything is different. And like I said, the depth of how different everybody can think or be is something that I have always been aware of. And so expressing that in all these different ways, not even different ways in visual art, but just all the different art types that, somebody can make something, create something, express something, is very important for other people to take it in, different ways to take in those different outlooks.
Yeah, it kind of brings us together without the need for maybe groups of people or clubs, or it sheds the differences that we have and helps communicate feelings without the need for anything else standing in the way.
Right, exactly. It's like you said, the communication, but you can also, put something on a canvas or do, a drawing or something, and, somebody else will look at it and it's nothing like what you intended to express, and that's the difference in the way that everybody thinks, you know what I mean? And I think that's a beautiful thing. Just there's so many different ways to look at something.
Yeah, I agree completely. With all of the kind of trials and tribulations you've put yourself through to try to figure out how to be an artist and how to create a brand and what to portray on canvases and things like that, do you have any advice for any other artists that might have been in your situation, not really growing up with a a lot of art knowledge or a lot of people who did art around them?
What I would say to those people is anything is worth looking into. If you have an interest in something, it's worth, a deeper dig at it. Because right now in this day and age, anything can be your livelihood. Like you can make a living off of literally anything. I say take all those interests seriously. Don't do it for nobody else. Don't wait for anybody to push you to do it. If it's something that you're interested in, it does not have to be just a hobby. It doesn't have to be just a pastime. Look into all of them. Look into the one you like the most, whatever you want to do. But definitely don't wait for those opportunities. Take them all and take them now.
How do you find your confidence?
Just doing it. just doing the art, putting it out there. I don't always find the confidence, to be honest. So it's just, for me, it's just a Nike just do it type of thing, right, for everything. Because if I waited for the confidence all the time, I would never put anything out. So
yeah. So sometimes you just have to jump.
Yes. Yeah. I have to really find the beauty in that finished piece and make sure that it's, something that I don't have any more to add to, and then, appreciate it for myself. That's when I will have the confidence to say, okay, this is ready to go, be put out.
And that's something that you have to constantly work on.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't have any, I almost never have, besides when I have like commissions or something, I almost never have any plan for what it's going to look like in the end, or what, this is going to be finished at, when it looks like this. So yeah, it's just I start and then I'm finished, and it's just do it.
You talked about simplicity earlier. Can you tell me more about that? What does that mean to you? Is that part of your style?
Yeah, I think it is. I didn't really grow up with a lot of like simplicity, like in my home or in my environment. So I think like as I became older, became adult, it's something I really like appreciate a lot. I think it really reflects in my art. Like I said, I really focus more on the background than the subject. So the subject is gonna be, pretty simple, pretty, straight on. But yeah, I think that's just a personality thing that has really just spilled over into my art. And also, like I said, when I first started doing art, I think I was doing things subconsciously to reflect myself and what I wanted to be and what I, aspire to be, a calm and simple person. It's just what I like, It's just what I like to, how I like to be and what I like to relay.
Do you ever worry about perfectionism?
Yes. Yes, all the time. But for me, the more I add, the more I'm gonna worry. So I kind of try to not take that too seriously and make it. I try to not focus on perfection as much as making it to what I want to look like.
And do you always stick to one medium?
Yeah, for the most part, I do acrylic. Now, when I do clothing and shoes, for shoes I use the leather paint. For the clothes I use the textile medium. But for the most part on canvas, yeah, it's just my acrylic. I really like my acrylic. I have used oil in the past. I have used watercolor in the past. Every now and then I will do epoxy resin on top of my acrylic paintings. I don't do that too often though. I really enjoy using acrylic. I'm always open to adding anything in and trying anything else.
Tell me about the first time that you sold a painting. This was not too long after your midnight Walmart run, right?
Yeah. So, and like I said, one night I was in my house and I went and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I just got up and went to Walmart and got these supplies and started painting. Shortly after, I had all these paintings that I had done, just as pastime or, meditation or whatever. And I didn't want to get rid of them. So I was packing them up to move them to my dad's house to put them in his basement because he had more space. And as I was packing them up in my car, a car drove past and he asked, "Are you selling those?" That was my first time even thinking about selling a painting. And so I said, well, I guess you can come look at them. He came over and he looked at them and he bought one. As he was buying it, he requested another one, like a commission for what he wanted. I did it. And that was my first step into like, okay, I guess I'm going to do this and sell them. I did. After that, I really did have a hard time with, I would paint something and I wouldn't want to let it go. So really, I really kind of had to step into like, this is what happens when you do a painting. Like, you have to try to, get it out of here. But yeah, but that was my first time selling it, and that kind of opened my eyes to what I could do. Yeah, and that people actually liked my stuff. I hadn't put it on any social media or something. I just kept it in the house, and my family hadn't even seen. And I was just doing it. So it was really confirming for me for that.
That launched you into the art world, like wanting to sell, wanting to show your pieces.
It definitely launched me into wanting to showcase my stuff a lot more, because I didn't know if people would actually like it. I knew that it spoke to me, but I was like, I don't know if anybody else would be interested. Because like I said, I never knew people to really be interested in art like that. So I didn't think people would be interested in. The first festival I did was at my church. I grew up heavily in church, and they have a festival every year, just where people can come and vendor, buy a table and vendor. And I did that for the first time in 2019. It was a success, and I just been going since then. And yeah,
So you said that you've kind of gone into fashion lately. What's the difference between working on a canvas and working on shoes or jackets? There must be a difference, because people get to wear that actual art. What does that feel like?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference, is that it's actually wearable, and it feels good to me to see I did something and somebody can wear it out, and other people can see it. And that also, like, I really like fashion. I really like putting the outfit together, and to me, shoes are the focal point. Shoes bring everything together. I started off doing it for myself, making shoes to go with different outfits and stuff like that, or putting the outfit together for a pair of shoes that I made. But I like to get custom orders, because I like to see other people put their side of their artwork, their outfit that they have picked out or put together, put with something that I made and I designed. And I just like seeing that all come together. The best part to me is that it's wearable. You're gonna see it every time you look in the mirror. Somebody else is gonna see it when you go to the event, or or whatever it is. It's gonna be a focal point, and I really enjoy that. I like having the different canvas, the way that you can position things on the shoe. It's just cool to me. I like it. It's fun.
Mariyah, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Where can people find more of your art and kind of keep up with whatever you're doing?
My Instagram is Mariyah the Artist. It's MARI_YAH the Artist. And then my Facebook is Mariyah Cheyenne, MARI_YAH Cheyenne. So that's where I do most of my posting of my work and different things that I have coming up.
Yeah, and are you working on any big projects right now? Any new kind of styles or anything?
I am going back to what I used to do in the beginning, a lot of women's figures and stuff, just because that's really what was important to me, and I feel like that's where I did my best work. So I'm just working on a few things, a few new pieces, improving my style on that. So that's just what my focus is right now.
Great. Well, we can't wait to see more of what you do, and we'll have your links to the socials on our website as well. But thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me. This was fun. Thank you.